Hello everyone, my name is Gabby, and welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super review. This time reviewing episode 52. As Bulma and Co work on the time machine, Future Trunks goes to visit Gohan to thank him for everything he did in his timeline. As he meets up with Gohan, he's surprised just how different he is from both the Gohan he knew and the Gohan that fought Cell. But as he's introduced to his family, Trunks realizes he's never seen Gohan this happy before in his life. So he returns to Bulma with newfound determination and finds out that Beerus, Whis, and Goku are investigating someone whose key seems very similar to Black in Universe 10. So, what did I like about this episode? Well, first of all, Kid Trunks getting jealous of Future Trunks. Like, the whole point is, well, first of all, that Kid Trunks is jealous of Future Trunks because, like, Mai thinks that Future Trunks is way cooler than Kid Trunks is, which I think is just really funny. Like, this is the thing I said I really wanted to see, and it's what is happening, so I'm really excited to see this. I mean, like, I thought it was going to be, like, something like maybe Goten thought that Future Trunks was, like, the coolest guy ever, but instead it seems like they're doing this with Mai. But, yeah, this whole thing that Kid Trunks is just now, he's just so jealous of his older, cooler self from the future, and he thinks that all he needs to do is, like, it's the sword, clearly, it's just the sword. If I get a sword, I'm going to be cool, and then Mai will like me as much as she likes Future Trunks. And it's just, like, obviously he doesn't get it, but, like, also he's, like, I mean, he's still a kid, so it makes sense he doesn't get it. And I just like this because it's just this new development in Kid Trunks' character. It's an element in his character that we've never seen before, and I'm really hoping this leads to more character development. Like this is the start of it, basically, the official start of this arc. I really want to see where this character arc goes. And then also, I think we should also talk about the other Trunks. Future Trunks in this episode was really, really interesting. And first of all, like, at the beginning when he's sort of seeming to have kind of like PTSD. Now, like, he's sort of just flashing back to Black killing Mai, and he's just sort of like it's just so, everything about Future Trunks in this arc so far has been like really, really interesting and really subtle and really kind of dark and like emotional. Now, like, they're really going into kind of the sort of psychological implications of, like, Future Trunks coming back after having this threat who he can't deal with, who's been destroying everything dear to him. Like, he's not just accepting this all in face value and just being like, okay, now I need to fight or whatever. It's painful for him, and he's just sort of kind of really emotional over all this stuff that's been happening to him. And I just think it's so interesting and subtle and slow, and something that Dragon Ball doesn't normally do. A character from Dragon Ball, of all things, seeming to have something like PTSD. Like, that is weird and crazy, and they have never really done that before, and I just really enjoy this. I just really enjoy the direction this arc is going. For Future Trunks, at least. Also, I'll talk about this later, the stuff with Trunks and Gohan. There is one thing I did actually really like about this, the stuff with Trunks and Gohan, and that is that they didn't treat it as a joke. Or at least not really. The fact that obviously Gohan is really different to what Trunks thought he was, but in the end, they don't really treat that as a joke. They don't like have Trunks thinking like, oh god, this is like the most terrible thing ever. Why is Gohan like this? I hate this. I hate everything about this. He's honestly, like, Trunks is a lot more accepting of it. And, you know, he sort of realizes, okay, you know, Gohan isn't like the Gohan I remember, but that doesn't mean he's any worse. Like, I understand what he's going through, and I'm actually really proud that he became a scholar and he was able to follow his dreams and he has a family and he can live in peace. It was something that I think Super had really been missing, and that oftentimes Super would just be like, oh yeah, no, so Gohan's a scholar and he's satisfied with that, and that's great, but then we didn't really see any kind of payoff of that. We didn't really see a lot of Gohan actually being satisfied. We saw more of Gohan like being involved in fights and getting his ass kicked because he wasn't strong enough. Then we saw Gohan actually like settling down with his family and him seemingly being really happy. We saw Gohan be happy and we understand why Gohan is happy, and I think that was just a really nice thing. It was a really nice thing that they did. It meant that, like, even if fans don't really like what happened to Gohan, the story wasn't just making fun of Gohan's life choices. It was accepting of Gohan's life choices, and it said that we should also be accepting of Gohan's life choices as well, which I'm glad. I'm glad that they're saying that even though Gohan's different, that doesn't mean that he's a worse person. As for what I didn't like about this episode, well, first of all, there was the stuff with Vegeta sort of being like, oh my god, look at all the stuff that Black did to my family. I won't forgive him for this. And like now he's gonna pay. The thing I have an issue with is it's kind of seemingly that like now Vegeta's sort of arc in this arc, Vegeta's character arc is gonna be kind of this sort of like revenge narrative that he wants revenge against Black, and I'll be honest, that's probably one of the things about Vegeta's character that least interests me. I don't particularly care about these things about like Vegeta deserves to kill this person, or so-and-so deserves to kill this person. Like, it's why at the end of Resurrection F, I didn't particularly mind that Vegeta didn't get the chance to kill Frieza. Even before I saw the movie, I didn't mind about that, because the whole idea of just, like, Vegeta has to, like, get revenge is something I don't really care about. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, and that is Gohan in this episode, and Gohan's role in this episode, and what they're implying Gohan's role in the rest of the series is going to be. The fact that all of the characters are basically saying Gohan is a scholar now, he cares about his family, he's not a fighter at heart, and he's not going to fight. And that also means that he's probably not going to be involved in fighting-related scenarios, perhaps. I mean, I'll be honest, when I first saw this episode, I was honestly kind of angry, because, I mean, well, let's put it this way, Gohan is my favorite character in the show, and everyone wants their favorite character in the show to at least have screen time and show up to the main plots. Since Dragon Ball is a show about fighting, saying that Gohan is not going to be fighting means that Gohan is just like not going to show up to the main plot. And I don't want that to happen. I want him to show up to the plot. So obviously that was a really annoying thing that really pissed me off. But, I mean, having a sleep on this really made me think about it a bit more. Like, this is why I don't do my reviews, like, the day it comes out. Like sometimes when you just, like, go to bed and wake up the next morning, you have a kind of fresh new perspective on it. And this was kind of something that the series had been alluding to for a while, so it's not such a big deal, I guess. Like, I understand why they did it, and really saying that it was going to be something different was just sort of me just trying to delude myself. But despite that, there's still two things about this whole idea about Gohan being a scholar and everything, and Gohan not going to be fighting, that still really kind of piss me off. I mean, first of all, it's kind of like a complete 180 to how his character had been handled in other parts of the series and other parts of the franchise. Like, in this episode of Dragon Ball Super, and in other episodes of Super as well, they'd basically be saying, Gohan wants to be a scholar and a family man. He cares about that, and that is why he does not fight. Whereas in, like, say, the Resurrection F arc of Super, and honestly, throughout all of Dragon Ball Z, Gohan's character has been sort of like, Gohan cares about being a scholar and caring about his family, and that's why he must fight. It's a completely different interpretation of his character, and I honestly find the idea that Gohan, even if he doesn't want to fight, he kind of has to get forced to because of these situations. I find that a much more interesting character than just, Gohan doesn't really fight anymore because he's happy not fighting. I just find that character just much more interesting, and Super doesn't seem like it's taking it in that direction, which is a real shame. And the second thing I have an issue with is that probably because they're aware of this whole aspect of Gohan's character, Gohan not getting involved in this plot was given the flimsiest ever justification in that, like, the only reason that Gohan doesn't know about the whole Black Thread is that he didn't ask? Really? You're telling me that Future Trunks was there for a few hours, and the entire time Gohan never asked Future Trunks why he was even there in the first place? Like, really? I don't buy that. I just don't buy that. I know why I did it, because obviously if he did ask, Future Trunks would have to explain about Black and all the thread, everything there. And then obviously if Gohan knows that Future Trunks is in danger, then Gohan would probably volunteer to help, because that's his character. He's not going to go and sit around while other people are in danger. But they didn't really care about that, and the way they got around it was just really lazy. And I thought it was just a really terrible way of just taking him out of the plot. I mean, to be fair, this might not be the end. Like, maybe Gohan actually might find out what's going on later on. Or maybe the threat's going to come to them personally. Or something like that's going to happen. But that doesn't seem to be the case, and it was just a really lazy way of getting him out of the story, I'll be completely honest. I also wish they honestly had spent a bit more time on the Gohan Future Trunks stuff. Like, when Future Trunks first meets Gohan, he says that he's going to go and, like, sort of thank him for him, like, being his mentor in the future and everything he did for him. But when that happens, he never ends up saying it at all. I thought they were going to explore that aspect of those two characters, but besides, like, one flashback scene, they really didn't, which I just found was just real shame. So as for next episode, Goku, Beerus, and Whis are going to Universe 10 to find this character who seems to have very similar ki to Black. I mean, you guys know his name is Zamasu, and he seems to be an apprentice Kaioshin. And Goku seems like he's going to fight him. So for everyone who was saying that, man, there hasn't really been much plot development lately, looks like we're getting plot development this next episode, because got a new character, we've got another fight, and it seems like we might get a lot more world building, which I'm really, really interested in seeing what they're doing with all of this stuff. So that was Dragon Ball Super episode 52. You know, the sad part is, despite it being the episode that pretty much just crushed a lot of my hopes and dreams, it was actually a really good episode. It was very subtle and slow and had a lot of really nice character moments. And once again, Dragon Ball Super, this arc has been saying, it's just been so much more interesting in the way it's been writing its characters, the way it's been using its characters, and the way that it's been like progressing their plot. Basically, Gohan is like the only weak link at this point. You know, a lot of the other characters getting a lot more screen time. Characters like Kid Trunks are getting like development, and characters like Future Trunks are way more interesting than I thought they were going to be. But Gohan is just Gohan, and he has not been doing anything, and it will be sad, and I am very sad, if this is the episode where Gohan retires for good. It was a nice episode, but I don't think it was really a deserving send-off to his character, who has done so much throughout this entire series and the entire franchise. But then again, I'm not writing Dragon Ball Super, and I don't even know what's going to happen later on. For all I know, this could be intentional and they're just trying to trick us. I don't think that's true. I don't think that's going to happen, but it might be. That might even be the case. And then like 20 episodes later, I'll come back and look at this review and be like, Gabby, why were you so upset? That wasn't even going to be the case. So surprisingly, actually a good episode. I didn't really like everything it did. Some things it did okay, some things it didn't do that well, but overall, I think I was at least satisfied with how they did this episode. So this is Gabby, signing out, and I'll see you in 2 weeks, because Super's going on another week's break. So I'll see you in 2 weeks. So bye guys.